Sorry about that. I kind of reached the 15 minutes and wasn't prepared, but I did take it on the 20th. Um, I got the jobs and everything, and went and started looking at them and stuff. I have 4 jobs I'm interested in right now. I want to do firefighting. I want to do in-flight refueling, or it's tied between in-flight refueling and air traffic control. Um, but the only thing that has a problem is air traffic controller. You need in your mechanic skills, you need a 55. Well, I got a 53. I want to talk with my recruiter and see if there's anything that I could do. So to improve that at 55 so that I can be eligible for air traffic controller. And then my fourth choice would be security forces. I really don't want to do security forces. I've heard a lot about them, but I'll do it. I wanted to be a cop until I joined the fire department and everything, so I don't know. We'll see how it all plans out. But in the first video, I explained how Navy was my second choice and they kind of dropped down. Well, whenever I took it on the 20th, the following Monday, the 24th of January, I went down to turn in my application for the Air Force and everything. So I did that, and then my mind has been all over the place from this confirmation test. The confirmation test, what I found out about it was that it's the whole entire ASVAB over again. And I scored a 60 on it. I scored a 40 on my first one. Halfway between that is a 50. So if I score 50 or lower, uh, I have to do an interview with one of the commanding officers down at MEPS or something. And then if I score 50 or higher, say that I score like we'll say 70. I don't get the 70, I get the 60, and I don't have to do an interview or anything, and I'll be eligible to join the Air Force. The say I scored like a 45, I'd have to do the interview. I wouldn't be eligible for the Air Force, so then I'd have to turn around and go and retake the ASVAB again, wait 6 months and retake it. I don't want to wait 6 months. If I wait 6 months, I might as well go to school for 2 years. But I don't want to do that because if I go to school for 2 years, then I'm gonna basically throw that degree in the garbage because I'd go in for fire administration, and fire administration doesn't help you out at all. And the Air Force is just gonna retrain you, so why go do 2 years of training just to go and get retrained? It just seemed like a waste of time. So the 26th, I decided that I was talking with one of my friends, and he was gonna come out and talk with the Air Force recruiter, but he kind of got real sick and everything and couldn't. So I went out to go talk with my recruiter, get out to his office, and he's not there. And his office is like 10-15 minutes away from my house. I get all the way out there, he wasn't there, and I was kind of stressing over this confirmation test because everybody I talk to says that I shouldn't take it, that I should tell them that I don't want to take it, that they told me that I got the 60, so I should get that 60. I shouldn't go and get another score or anything like that. Because I studied for, what was it, a month and a half. That's why I scored so high on the second one. So, um, so I went and on the 24th after I turned in the application to join, the Navy recruiter called me back. I told you that the Navy recruiter said that he was going to call me back after Christmas and everything and see what was all going on. Well, he called me on the 24th. He wanted to know what was going on with the Air Force and just stuff like that, like if I went down and retook the ASVAB and everything. So I called him back and I said, well, I have a question. He's like, yeah. I was like, have you heard of anything called a confirmation test? He was like, no. He was like, but if you could hold on a second, I'll ask my supervisor. And I said, okay. So he went and he asked his supervisor. He was like, she got a 60 on her on her last ASVAB, and they told her that she needs to take a confirmation test. Is there such thing as a confirmation test, or what is it, or whatever? And his supervisor went and said, yeah, they think that she cheated on the test, so they want her to retake it. So he told me that, and I went and I said, okay, well, I was like, whatever. So I hung up the phone with him, and so the 26th, I decided to go down to talk with my recruiter and everything. He didn't. He wasn't at the office. He didn't answer his phone, and so I went and called the Navy recruiter back up and said, does your supervisor happen to be in?" He's like, "Yeah, he should be in for a couple more hours." I said, "Okay, well, can I go out and talk to him about this confirmation test?" He was like, "Yeah, you can." So I went down, talked to him, and here's the main reason why I don't want to join the Navy. I get down there and everything, and so there's this one person sitting there that says, "Sir, you already joined the Navy?" I said, "No." Said, "I don't know what I want to do." So his supervisor is standing there. He's like, "So how may I help you?" Well, they know that I was talking with the Air Force and everything, but I didn't sign anything. I didn't make any commitments or anything. Like, yeah, my mind's focused on the Air Force, but it's always been focused on the Air Force. Even whenever they wanted to take me down to MEPS and sign, it was focused on the Air Force. So he went and he said, "Well, how can I help you?" I went and I said, "Well, I'm trying to find out answers to my questions." He went and he said, "Questions about what?" I said, "About this confirmation test." I was like, "Well, we already told you what it was and everything." And I said, "Well, yeah, I know, but I have more questions." And so then he goes and he looks over at this other person and says, "This is Katrina." And so he went and he said, "Katrina, and he states his name, and he's like, "I'm the regional supervisor of the Navy." And he's like, "Can you come over here and have a seat?" I said, "Yeah." So I go over there, sit down, and he just starts randomly yelling at me because I walked into the Navy recruiting office and I'm in the middle of talking with the Air Force and stuff like that. And so he went and he said, I went and I looked at him. I said, "I don't know what I want to do yet." I went and I said, "I have colleges looking at me and I have military branches looking at me. They're all calling me." I was like, and I haven't signed with any of them. So right now I haven't made any commitments for anything. And so he went and he said, "Well, why should I have my recruiters waste their time on somebody that's just going to go and join the Air Force and just waste their time on you?" I went and I said, I don't know what I want to do." I was like, whatever they want to do. If they don't want to talk with me, then I guess I'm not joining the Navy. So not to offend any of you guys that want to join Navy or anything, but I think that I was kind of disrespected because I walked in there and didn't make any commitment to any branch of the service or any college. Walked in there and everything, and I get yelled at just because of walking in there and I'm in the middle of talking with the Air Force. It's like a big battle between those two. And he went and he was like, "If you wanted to join the Navy, I'd have my recruiters bend over backwards." He's like, "I'd even bend over backwards for you to join." Well, then at the end, he went and he said, "Okay, bye, leave my office." When I said, "Okay, whatever," I walked out of there and didn't turn back and do anything. Um, so that was that. I went down to my fire department and talked with somebody there. Went and talked with my friend and uh, asked him if he. Well, I went back up to the Air Force recruiter's office and seen if he was there. He wasn't, so I went and called my friend up to see if he could find another Air Force recruiter. And he went. He said, "Yeah, sure." And so he found one. I tried calling him. He didn't answer. And so on his voicemail, he went and he had his cell number. So I went and asked my friend. I was like, "Should I try calling his cell phone?" And he was like, "Yeah, I would." So I went and I called his cell phone. He answered and everything. I went and I explained the situation, how I was talking with a recruiter already, but he wasn't answering my phone calls or anything, and I was kind of stressing over this confirmation test and that I got flipped out on by the regional supervisor of the Navy and everything. And so he went and he said, well, he's like, there's no reason to stress over this confirmation test. Like, he kind of seemed irritated that I called him, like, and afterwards I could understand how he seemed irritated, but I don't know, like, I know that he showed that he was irritated, so afterwards I was like, well, I think that was a bad idea. But not much I can really do. So I guess there's gonna be a part 4 to this movie. I'm at 11 minutes right now. Um, so that was last Wednesday that this all happened, and I I'm having a brain fart. Um, he took the recruiter that I called up on his cell phone. He took the school that I was from and my name and everything. So basically, I think that he was gonna try and call my recruiter out and tell my recruiter that I called him and stuff like that. So I can't really say anything because I know I was thinking bad, but my mind was all over the place over this confirmation test. Nobody wanted to give me answers on it and stuff like that. So, or nobody knew what it was. Uh, so Monday, Monday I went and I called my recruiter up because I was supposed to go and retake the confirmation test. Um, and so I called him up and said, well, left him a message. I said, well, if I'm taking this confirmation test, if I leave school, I'm not going to get out to your office till 3. If you want me sooner, then I need to get an early dismissal from school and everything like that. So he didn't call me back at all. I told him if he called me back, I might not answer because I was in school, but he can leave a message and I'll get it. And so I called him after school and he said, yeah, he was like, this confirmation test, I was asking my boss, he said you don't have to take it till you get on and get your physical and stuff like that. I was like, oh. He's like, well, is that whenever I'll be signing? He was like, yeah. I was like, well, then you're going to need my dad's permission because as I stated in previous ones, I'm only 17. Um, he was like, yeah. I was like, well, what about my mom? She was like, yeah. I was like, well, my mom kind of lives 4 hours away and stuff like that. So I don't know. I didn't go and take the confirmation test Monday. The recruiter's supposed to call me. He told me by the end of this week, but it's Thursday and still no call, so I'm not too worried about it. I'll tell you like later on what all happened with this confirmation test. He wants me to get on next week and sign papers and stuff. So I guess that's all for now. I updated you guys all on what was going on and stuff. So look for part 4.